Okay, in this video here, what we're going to do is now we're going to add some better animation, and we're going to control with the keyboard the animation of the player to start animating, to move left, to move right, and to stop animating when he's not moving. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to go to game events. And note when I go game events, it says there's no events and an error pops up. And that's true. I haven't added any events yet. So to add an event, we use the add an empty new event right up here. So I click on add empty new event, and now we have a new event. And here you can see what the event conditions are. And so I want to make a new keyboard event. So in GameMaker, we used to use the keyboard event and so forth. And so in here, it's very similar. And so I'm going to start typing in keyboard, and you'll see there is a key pressed keyboard event. So I'm going to select a key pressed keyboard event. And which key? Well, I'm going to press the right key first. So I'm going to say right, and I type in right and press OK. So now I've got an event, and just like in GameMaker, you add actions to your events, and that's the way game programming works. We add actions to the events that we do. So what kind of actions can we want? Well, there's an action here called change the sprite or animation. So I'm going to type in here, change the animation. Okay, and so it says, well, what object do I want to change the animation with? And by default, I've only got one object. So I'm going to select by clicking on player. So I want to change the player object. And what do I want to do? I want to set its animation to, so I select set to, and the value is 1. And you may remember why it's 1 is, let me go back to my game and I'll click on my player and edit the player. The reason it's 1 is because animation number 0 is right here. And that is the player stopped. Animation number 1 is right here, and that's the player moving. And so I want the player to be moving. Okay, so let's go back to let me just erase this here now. Let's go back to the game and take a look at where we're at. So I'm going to go apply and back to the game event. So if I press the right key, I want the animation to start playing. But I also only want the animation to play if I'm moving. If I'm pressing the right key and I'm hitting a wall or something, I don't want the animation to keep on going. So I'm going to add another condition. And the other condition, I'm going to type in moving. And it comes up with is moving. So I can say yes, if the player is moving, then I do want it to perform this object. And so by putting it, adding the condition right below, it's going to do not only is the right key pressed, but the player is moving. And if that is set to true, then the player is going to be moving. The animation is going to be moving. Now this works for the right key. What I want to do is I also want to make the move for the left. And so one of the things I can do, I can select the two of these things, and you'll see they're both selected. And if I press Control C or Command C on the Macintosh, that's how I copy. And then I can press Control V or Command V and paste, and that's how I paste. Or you could just do the same thing again. And then I can click here where it says key right, and I can change that to key left. And so that just saves me from retyping all this in. I can say, great, if the right key is pressed, do the animation of this. And if the left key is pressed, do the animation, and it's moving. And so now I can hit play and we can watch what's happening. And so you'll see when I press right and left, it's going to now be moving, and left, it's going to be moving. But what I wanted to do is flip directions when I press left. So I'm going to go back here to the game events. And what I want to do is I want to add a second action. And the second action is going to be the horizontal. I want to flip the object horizontal. And so I'm going to say yes. Select the player. So flip the player and flip it horizontal. So I press OK. And now when I press left, it's going to be flipped horizontally. But there's going to be a slight problem. You're going to see it's going to work. So right, he moves, and then left, he moves. But when I go right, he's stuck left. And he only is going to move left. So what I need to do is I need to go back here to set player one, add action. And what I need to do is I need to add flip horizontal not for the right movement. So again, I'm going to go horizontal, flip horizontal, and the player, and activate flipping. And this time I say no, because if he's going right, I don't want to flip it. So I say flip the horizontal no on the right. And so here's the two events and actions. If I press the right key and the player is moving, the actions are going to be change the player to animation 1 and flip no for right. If it's left and I'm moving, you're going to change the animation to player 1, and yes, we are going to flip number 1. What about if I want to have an event for no movement? So for example, if I stop pressing a key and I'm not moving, or if I'm hitting a wall and I get stuck, I don't want the movement to be going. And so what we're going to do is we're going to add another condition. So I'm going to click here to add, another event. And so I'm going to click up here to add another event. And to keep things organized, I'm going to put the movement ones above, and I'll put it in here. And in here, I want to put is moving. So an event here could be is moving. And so is the player moving? And if I flip the switch here to invert condition, this means the player is not moving. So if the player is not moving, the action is going to be pretty easy. It's going to be change the animation to animation 0. So let's do that. So I type in here, I type in animation, change the animation. I'm going to select the player, and I'm going to set the player's animation to 0. So object player is going to be set to a value of 0. And now we're pretty well set. I think that's just about everything in this game. So I'm going to hit play. We're going to launch the preview, and you should see my player can jump. He can move to the left. He can move to the right. And if I stop, he stops. I go this way, he stops. So it's just about perfect. Now we're ready to save this. And so a couple options we have here to save. So one of the things I'm going to encourage you to do is to save this on your Google Drive. And so we can go back to our project manager, and we can go save as, and we can save in our Google Drive. And then we can choose a folder, and hopefully you've got a folder now for your Infotech class. So let me just demonstrate on this one here. And in here, I've got my Computer Studies 10, so we can open that one up. And I'm going to save in Computer Studies 10, and I'm going to go select, and give it a name. I'm going to call this GDevelop Game 1. And there you go. It's now saved to my Google Drive. So again, it says the project is properly saved. It's all ready to roll. And we have saved it into our Google Drive. And we're ready to quit. And so now one of the nice things I like is, that's it. It's completely done online. So it can be done on any computers, a Windows, a PC, a Chromebook, etc. And we can save directly to our Google Drive. Again, ideally, you would download this to your own PC. But for now, we're just going to do this online. And yeah, that is it.